Welcome and well met, all my fellow adventurers. Thank you for joining me today in a brand new video. With a new year off to a start, I decided to go ahead and do something a little different and maybe a tiny bit funny in helping you to decide upon what race you should play for Final Fantasy XIV. In the world of Eorzea, there are 8 playable races, and with the simple price of 1 Fantasia, you're able to play as any of them at any time. But what does your favorite race say about you? So today we're going to be going over each one of the different types of races, as well as the different type of people who tend to play them. FYI, these are just from my own personal experiences and from countless people that I met over the course of playing this game. So please don't take what I say too seriously. Alright, so let's go ahead and just start off with my own race of the Hyur, and I'll try to be as non-biased as possible. At first glance, many would say those who choose to become Hyur are boring and they don't like to stand out. I don't believe that's true whatsoever. While it is true, however, that the Hyur class is the most basic of default mode, I mean the poster child for this game is literally the most default human-like character out there, I believe that the reason that the Hyur is one of the more popular races is because it's almost like inserting yourself into the game. Many players, such as myself, try to base their character off themselves, or maybe even a better version of themselves, what you wish to look like and what you wish to become. And while it's true that many tend to get lost in the crowd, there are those who find ways of standing out. For the male Hyur, I see them as those who value things like family and friends. They have strong work ethics, contain self-control, and love to be put into a leading role because they take to responsibility very well. For female Hyur, like myself, the people I find who connect with this race enjoy fighting for causes, listening to others, and are capable of intellectual conversations. They hate being alone for long periods of time, but can also be timid when the spotlight is on them. For both male and female, though, they are people who tend to blend into many different types of traditions and cultures, and can get along easily with others, and refine any new bit of lore or knowledge that they discover. Of course, while many of them are pretty basic and they tend to fade into the background, their confidence can be shaky at times. Moving on next to the Elezen, who much of Eorzea seems to be made up of. First off, let me just get this out of the way. Giraffe necks. Okay, now that's out of my system. The Elezen are based off elves from many popular fantasy novels, such as Lord of the Rings. Funny enough, when I see plenty of male Elezen around, I find that the females are surprisingly rare, at least on my server anyway. For male Elezen, I see them as people who command a lot of wisdom and power. They also tend to have a taste for some of the finer things in life and aren't afraid to spend a little bit more to get what they want. They are the type of person who are more likely to ponder what to do next rather than charge in without a plan. For female Elezen, at least the few that I do know, they tend to be warm-hearted, creative, and with a taste for more dramatic types of things in life. Some even have very motherly personalities, but can be very strict if needed. Like, they will not hesitate to tell you off and punish you should you do something wrong, but they will still gift you the puppy you always wanted for your next birthday. For both male and female, though, they are elegant with a rather regal stature, all while being expressive and graceful, but often tend to become caught up in their pride. Moving on to the Lalafells, and the reputation that the smallest race here gets is that they are either the sweetest, most wholesome characters out there, or they're pure evil masterminds plotting world domination. In some cases, they can be both. Not pointing fingers here. But before the world inevitably falls to a Lalafell uprising, let's take a look at the type of people they tend to be. For male Lalafell, they are artistic, wise, and spiritual types of people, perhaps more along the lines of hopeless romantics, but also don't mind working alone. I would call them soft introverts for the most part, with a mischievous side to them. They are much more laid back and love good conversations while also coming up with plans that can benefit them and those that they care about. As for female Lalafells, they love to talk and enjoy spending time with others and taking little trips so long as they don't overly tire them out. Like with males, they know when to socialize and they can do it hard, but they savor their quiet times alone. They are quite adaptable and are fast learners, able to master skills very quickly compared to some of their peers. But for both males and females, Lalafells may be small in stature, but they can be big in personality. But that can often lead to overconfidence if not watched out for. Okay, now on to the most popular race in the game. If the Hyur is the second most popular, as did the recent polls for the 2022 did state, then by far the most common race you'll see in Eorzea is the Miqo'te. Now, I've met many Miqo'te of all shapes and colors from all over, so it was hard to compile a basic stereotype for them, assuming that most Miqo'te players aren't just playing them for more, spicy reasons. But starting off with male Miqo'te, they tend to be protective over others, especially those they care about. They tend to be great teachers and mentors, but are able to slow down and take as much time as needed if it helps others catch up. While they love to be playful and looked up to, they tend to get caught up in showing off, especially in front of someone they like. For female Miqo'te, they value sharing, the outdoors, and work well with others. While they do dislike violence, they are not afraid to whip out the claws if they feel that they suffered some kind of injustice. Quick and clever, they do love attention and being in the spotlight. True extroverts at their best. For both males and females, however, while they do love it best when everyone is having a good time and they're up for just about anything so long as no one gets hurt in the process, kitties do still have claws, and when push comes to shove, they are not afraid to fight back. Next up, we have the largest of the races, and that is the Roegadyn, who are surprisingly rare in some cases. Male Roegadyns are optimistic people who are happiest when they're active. They love physical challenges and are talented to multitasking, able to take on multiple jobs at once. They value hard work, not just in themselves, but in others, whom they do expect to be able to hold up to any kind of task. For these guys, you either see them decked out in full armor to make them living, breathing tanks that are impossible to scratch, or dressed in next to nothing in the most ridiculous outfits put together. If nothing else, you know that they are proud of their bodies and they aren't afraid to show it off. For female Roegadyn, seriously, are there any female Roegadyn out there anymore? They are remarkably rare, and spawning one is almost like seeing an endangered species. Seriously, maybe we should be concerned for the Roegadyn race if there are so few. Anyway, the few that I did meet are highly imaginative, loyal, and tenacious people. Despite their great size, they are sensitive and emotional, but can be quick to temper when they don't get their way. Either way, the Roegadyn are as big as their hearts, but if you aren't careful, they aren't afraid to go Hulk on anyone who dares to get on their bad side. Okay, so we're moving on to the ever-popular El-Ra race, which looks to be just like the complete opposite of each other with males and females, but please don't be fooled because they tend to surprise everyone around them. For male El-Ra, they tend to like to go for the dark and brooding type, often seen as secretive and distrusting, maybe even borderline violent at times. But they have a surprisingly nurturing side to them, especially to those younger than them. While distrusting of people outside their friend circles, they can be passionate and competitive, not afraid to jump in and take a bullet for somebody if they feel that they have to. For female El-Ra, many of them tend to be more on the quiet and gentle personalities, often seen as shy and like to avoid confrontation. While they love to help out where they can and are able to get along with others, they are more comfortable in states of quiet tranquility. But when push comes to shove, they can be as brave and resourceful, showing they can be as spiky as their horns. Generally speaking, most El-Ras can be a bit distrusting towards new people, and it can be hard to earn their trust, but once you do, you will have a hard time finding more steadfast friends. Onward to the Viera, the newest race to the game, and those who are growing more and more popular by the day, for reasons that I think are pretty obvious if I have to be honest. For a male Viera, they are practical and hard-working people with a love of animals and nature. They can also tend to be perfectionists because they have eyes for details. They are less stubborn than their female counterparts and are more open to change and exploring the world. They are the silent protectors. They prefer to watch from the sidelines or act more of a supporting role than actually taking credit for the work being done. For the female Viera, however, they are known to be stubborn and have a strong sense of inner stability and devotion to what they value. They tend to dislike change and are most comfortable when they're at home and surrounded by things that they know and are familiar with. But they are also elegant, but in a different way to how the Elezen are elegant. While the Elezen are more regal elegant, the female Viera are more sexy elegant, and they're not afraid to show off what God gave them and use whatever means is necessary to get what they want. For both sets though, the Viera know who they are, what they want, and they don't need anyone else to do anything for them. They are independent to a fault, they hate asking for help, though they do like to give it to those that they care about without expecting anything in return. And finally, we move on to the Hrothgar. Now, this is a bit trickier to be able to decide upon since, as of right now, there are no female Hrothgar in the game, at least not yet. At the earliest that we'll get the females, that would probably be in the next expansion of 7.0. So I may have to do a revised version of this whole video depending on what we learn from there. But moving on to the male Hrothgar, they value things like freedom, and they're more philosophical thinkers who love to travel. They hate to be stuck in one place for long, and they really hate being with those who are clingy. Many Hrothgar, despite their often frightening appearances, are very gentle and compassionate despite the fact that they don't like to be tied down. They love a lifestyle that requires a lot of freedom to go and do whatever they want, and maybe to just sit back and reflect upon life itself. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of my descriptions for each of the races in Final Fantasy XIV. Like I said, this is just from my own personal experiences in the game. Is every single person like this? No, especially since we can still switch over to any race at any time. This was just something that I thought I'd do for fun while we wait for 6.3, which is going to be coming out next week. I'm really excited for it. But if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe down below for future videos, and I'll see you next time. Until then, may you walk in the light of the crystal.